It's time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 247. We are on day 3 of computers and the senses, and today we're talking about the sense of touch. All right, so we're going to talk about the sense of touch and how the computer can affect our sense of, how our sense of touch of the computer can affect our energy to heal. And remember that our goal is to have enough energy to survive working with computers and to be able to get done working with computers and have energy to do other things. So today we're going to talk about the sense of touch. Let's start with the basics. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. You're going to go ahead and take a deep breath in. This breath in, you're going to expand in the belly, expand in the chest, expand in the sinuses, and tuck your tailbone just a little bit. Take a deep breath in. And release. And since we're talking about the sense of touch and computers, I want you to think about touching a computer and getting that little shock. Static electricity. Since computers are naturally a little bit more staticky than most things, you can think about the sense of touch and static and breathe into that. And release. It is a little windy out today. All right. So this is day 3 of computers and the senses. And we are talking about how computers and the ability to have enough energy to use a computer, or even just to kind of interact with a computer, or more than to have energy to actually use a computer and continue forward. So we're looking at that energy equals good energy in minus stressors, and we're looking at it how the sense of touch can relate to that. And so one of the things we can start with is we can start by looking at the stressors the stressors through the sense of touch from computers. So remember that the sense of touch covers vibration, temperature, pressure, and that because of that it also gets to texture. So one of the things about computers, if you're working on a laptop, is that laptop has vibration, and that vibration, when the fan kicks on, can be felt in your legs if it's on your lap because it's a laptop, or if it's in through your fingers because you're typing directly onto the CPU, which is right there underneath the keyboard. So we've got laptop features that can affect the vibration of the fan, and the fans can affect your sense of touch. And they have a particular frequency. Now, while we're talking about frequencies, we also can't not talk about the fact that the sense of touch is you are able to sense the electromagnetic frequency for some people more than others. And that electromagnetic frequency that comes off of iPads or comes off of your computers can affect you in a very interesting way. For some people it affects their digestion. For a lot of people it affects their head. They get head pressure or headaches. And while I wouldn't be one to just say, hey, yes, this happens, I have seen people put on EMF modulators on their phones and have an instant drop in how much they have to take migraine meds. So going from taking a pill 3 days a week to putting that on and taking a migraine med once a month suggests that there is something there. Some people are very sensitive to that frequency. And since touch is related to frequency, this is one of the ways we can get affected by that frequency. Now, there are also things, the texture of the keys, the push of the keys. A lot of pushback has come to Apple because they changed the way their keys click. Yes, the vibration and the sounds of the keys have affected people because they're not normal. And so a lot of people have pushed back and said, hey, can you return the keys back to their normal sound or their normal pressure so that we actually have a normal key pressure? And so that can be a stressor for people as well. And if we're working on a laptop, I will say that because the keys are set back a little bit from, sometimes the metal, depending upon what the texture of that is, can affect your sense of touch and be not comfortable. If we're talking about a desktop, desktops, because they are a little further away from the keyboard, they have a little bit of less influence on the sense of touch, except for the fact that they do have the keyboard. There's less influence of the vibration, but there is, especially if it is wireless, there is the influence of EMFs if you are EMF sensitive. All right, so we've got stressors, and all those stressors can really put the kibosh on your ability to function with a computer. Now, if we think about just from a really simple, stupid situation, the fact that Apple changed the way their keys click or the way their keys respond, if you are a writer and you rely on that type of response back from your keypad, that is going to be a stressor, and how you interact with your computer is going to be reduced. So how do you get over that? What sources of good energy can you provide? Well, when we're thinking about the sense of touch and we're thinking about a computer, if we think about what is underneath our hands, all right, so we rest our hands and we type. So I talked about the fact that sometimes the metal on my computer, I have a laptop, that can just not feel right. So I will pull my sweaters down a little bit, but you can also put something on the edge of your laptop, change the texture of it so that it doesn't feel that way. One of the interesting things about stress is that when you are stressed, you lose your fingerprints. It sounds a little weird, but it's true. We've talked about the fact that adrenals and stress, we talked about this when we talked about plantar fasciitis, when we talked about the heels. We talked about the fact that when you are stressed, your adrenals kick up their cortisol, and when they do that, they reduce your global amount of vitamin C. And in doing that, you make less collagen. And so while it is very obvious on the bottom of your feet, what is less obvious is the fact that your fingerprints, because they are held together by collagen, vanish. So if you ever notice that when you are really stressed, it is very hard to unlock your phone, there is a reason. Your body has stopped making as much collagen as it needs and your fingerprints go away. So how do we improve that? Well, one of the ways to do that is to actually put moisturizer on your hands frequently. Now, that's not going to change what's going on inside your body, but it's going to change how you interact with your computer keyboard, and because of that makes it a little bit easier to feel and to work with. Other things in terms of sense of touch in a computer, we're talking about static electricity. You can always make sure that when you touch your computer, if you're using a desktop, you can always make sure that you touch with your leg or something before you actually start doing anything else. There are things that you might want to think about in terms of just the keypad, but in terms of the energy that's around you, you can make sure that your seat is appropriately snugly, because if we're looking at ways to get good energy in so that you can interact with your computer longer and have energy to heal at the end, we want to make sure that everything around you gives in touch sensation that is positive. So a snugly seat, maybe a supportive seat, this sort of gets a little bit into kinesthetic. You can alter your desktop so that you can figure out what's resting on the table and what it feels like. You can also, touch-wise, if that vibration, if the heat coming off your computer, especially if it's a warmer day, is a little more obnoxious and you're not comfortable with it, you can use an extra fan yourself to blow some of that heat away, which means that your physical self around the computer is not as warm, and that actually is also helpful. So these are just little tips that you can do. You can, again, we've talked about the fact that when you're dealing with a sense of touch, EMFs come in there, and there are little things that you can put on that modulate EMF energy so that they are not having as much of an effect on the body. And you can put those on your computer, you can put those on your devices, you can put those on your phone, that will decrease the amount of that vibration, that frequency getting into the system. All right, so come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about another sense and how it interacts with computers. I will see you here tomorrow. Let's finish off. Take a deep breath in and release. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow.